Good morning. Today is Thursday, the 12th day of Teves. Today we begin chapter 9 in the Tanya. Really takes us to the next step in the Tanya. First 8 chapters, the Alter Rebbe introduced the structure of the two souls that we all have, that each and every one has, the godly soul, the animal soul. We learned about the soul itself. We learned about the faculties of the soul, the intellectual faculties, the emotional faculties. We learned about the garments of the soul, the way the soul expresses itself in thoughts, in speech, in action. Those are the 3 garments of the soul. Each one, the godly soul and the animal soul. The animal soul is the selfish soul, looking for the materialistic thing. The godly soul is looking for something which is higher, the spiritual. And we learned also the effect that the souls have on what we do. And now in chapter 9, the Alter Rebbe begins to explain how the soul is in us and how the struggle, each one of these two souls, they are trying to get full control over the body. And so this is what we're taking. Once we know the structure of the soul, we understand. We know now, the Alter Rebbe is teaching us where each soul resides in us, what is the main functions within us. And then he'll continue to explain how these two souls are in a state of war, a constant war, and how we are able to control and make sure that the godly soul wins. So let's continue. Let's begin chapter 9 in the Tanya. Says the Alter Rebbe, "Vehinei, mekoim mishkan nefesh aba'amis, shemiklipas noiga b'cholish Yisrael ubaleif." The abode of the animal soul derived from klipas noiga in every Jew. As we explained, what is klipas noiga? Klipa is the shell of noiga. It means, we explained that there is the animal soul by a Jew comes from a place called the shell of noiga. It is the source of the impurity, but with a potential of light. And where is the abode of the soul, of this animalistic soul? The abode is in the heart. The place where the animal soul, the nefesh habahamis, resides is most manifest in the heart. For as mentioned previously, in previous chapter, we explained that the animal soul is predominantly emotional. And the heart is the seat of the emotions. That's what we explained in the previous chapters. We explained the difference between the animal soul and the godly soul. The main difference is the animal soul is based on emotions. The godly soul is based on logic. When you want something, the animal soul begins with emotions. Although, of course, everything begins in the head. But really, if you look at just like an animal has logic also, has brains. He is able to, if he wants to get something, he'll come up with all kinds of tricks to get what it wants, what it needs. Animal is hungry, is going to come up with all amazing, brilliant tricks how to get its prey. But if you ask him, is it moral? Is it nice? There's no such thing. There's no logical thinking of morality and things like that. So the animal soul uses the brain, but the brain serves the emotions. The godly soul is the other way around. The godly soul resides in the brain. Everything begins in an objective analysis. Is this the right thing to do? Then it leads to the heart. Once you understand that this is the right thing, it leads to the heart to be able to feel it and to implement deeply into yourself. Continues Alter Rebbe. And it says that so the abode of the animal soul is in the heart. And more particularly, it says B'chalal smali shumali dam. Specifically in the left ventricle of the heart that is filled with blood. Uksiv ke'adamu hanefesh, as it is written, and it is written, for the blood is the soul. Meaning that the soul is in the blood. Now, what does it mean that the left ventricle of the heart, the left side, the hollow part of the heart, is filled with blood? As it'll say later on also, that the godly soul comes down into the right side of the heart, which has no blood. What does that mean? So one way of explaining it is that the left side of the heart has the oxygenated blood. That blood that really gives the life to each and every organ is in the left side of the heart. The right side of the heart, yes, it has blood, but it doesn't have this oxygenated blood. So the focus is, the point here that Alter Rebbe says is that the left side of the heart that has this blood, the blood of the soul, that is the soul, that is the abode. This is where the animal soul resides. And therefore, so because the animal soul resides in the heart, therefore all the lusts and the boasting and the anger and similar passions are in the heart. What does it mean? The heart has the lust. Number one, it sees something. Ein roya v'alev chaimer, as it says in the Mishnah, Pirkei Avos, the ethics of the Father. The eye sees and the heart desires. You have a lust. So you have number one, you have the lust. You want something. Then once you want something, you have the boasting. I'm getting something, I'm getting it. This is boasting with what I have. And then if you don't get what you want, then it leads to kas, to anger. How dare I don't get what I want? I want it. So again, all of this is part of the desires, which is rooted in the heart. And then, and from the heart, they spread throughout the entire body. And of course, once you have this desire, you're going to start thinking how to get what I want. And that is when it goes up to the brain to be able to meditate, to think, to use all kinds of cunning ways how to get what I need, what I want. So it says, rising also to the brain, in the head, to think and meditate about them, and to become cunning in them. And this is just like the blood itself. The blood goes throughout the body and also goes up to the brain. It says, just as the blood has its source in the heart, and from the heart it circulates into every organ. V'gam oile lehamoyach sheberoish, rising also to the brain in the heart. It's when it talks about the blood going up to the brain, it says rising up to, to the brain that is in the head. Sorry. When it's talking about going up to the brain in the head, it says it's rising up. Why? Because that blood that goes up to the brain is the more refined blood that goes into the brain. So the higher level goes up to the brain. So this is where the animal soul resides. It's in the heart. Everything begins and starts from the emotions, from lusts. Whatever you see, it's not something that you thought about it, contemplated, is it a good thing or not? It is just my desire. I want to have it. That's it. Then you're using the brain to justify what you want. But the godly soul, the root of the godly soul, he says, is number one in the brain. And really the godly soul also has a place in the heart, in the right side of the heart. So he says, but the abode of the divine soul is in the brains, that is in the head. And from there, it extends to all the limbs. So it begins in the brain, begins in understanding what is it, where is it coming from? What do we do? What do I need to do? And from there, it spreads to the rest of the organs. And also the place of the godly soul has also a place in the heart. The divine soul resides also in the heart, in the right ventricle, where there is no blood. And as we explained earlier, there is no oxygenated blood. As it is written, the heart of the wise man, meaning the divine soul, in contrast with the animal soul, specifically the evil inclination, the Yetzer Hara, which is described as the old fool. Melech Zaken Uksil, it says, the old fool. And then, so the wise man, Leiv Chacham, which is the good side, the godly soul, is on his right. So with us, see that the divine soul resides not only in the brain, but in the right ventricle of the heart as well. As he did when speaking of the animal soul, the Alter Rebbe again singles out the heart from among all other organs. Having said that the divine soul extends to all organs, he mentions the heart specifically. And also in the heart. Why does he mention the heart specifically? He says, okay, it spreads to all organs. Why is it important to mention the heart specifically? So he says, for unlike the other organs in which merely the extension of the divine soul is manifest, in the heart, the divine soul itself, meaning its emotional faculties, is revealed. So the Alter Rebbe goes on to explain this point. Now, when we're saying that the godly soul resides in the brain and also in the heart, in the right ventricle, is going to explain what is it that it becomes a hub also in the heart of the person. That means that he's using the intellect to create godly emotions, positive emotions. Continues the Alter Rebbe and says, "Vehi ahavas Hashem kerishpei shaleves." This revelation in the heart of the divine soul residing in the brain is man's fiery love towards God. Mislaheves beleiv maskilim, which flares up in the heart of discerning men who utilize the power of Chachma. Chachma is the wisdom, the flash of understanding. And then they go the next level, Amevinim u'misboinanim, who understand and reflect with a faculty of Bina, the understanding, by which they understand the matter in all its details and ramifications. When you use the Bina to understand, as we explained, the Bina means taking a point and expanding on the point, elaborating, to really understand it well. And finally, the third level of the intellect is the das, the knowledge. Knowledge is connecting. You have the wisdom, you have the understanding, and then you have the das, the knowledge connecting in the brain. With the knowledge of their brain, meaning with the faculty of das, knowledge, by which they immerse themselves and sensitize themselves in that which they understand. Thus, the love flares up in the hearts of those who utilize all three faculties of Chachma, Bina, and Das. So the heart, the emotions now flares up after using these three emotional, logical faculties. And how do you do it? And matters that arouse this love, meaning in contemplation of God's greatness, as the Alter Rebbe will soon conclude. That creates love in the heart. Similarly, another deeper way in which the heart's emotion gives expression to the presence of the divine soul in the brain is the gladness of the heart at apprehending the beauty of God and the majesty of His glory. He said, and this is when the wise man's eyes, which are in his head, meaning in the brain, harboring his wisdom and understanding, when these eyes, the intellectual faculties, gaze intently at the glory of the king and the beauty of his unfathomable, infinite, and boundless greatness. And the heart rejoices in and is glad, as is explained elsewhere. So that is the gazing in the greatness of Hashem leads the person to not only love of Hashem, but also the gladness of the heart. It says, gazing with the mind's eyes means that one not only understands the greatness of God, but also perceives it as though seeing it with his very eyes. Such perception arouses great joy in one's heart. And this joy, like the love spoken of earlier, is a direct result and a manifestation of the intellect of the divine soul residing in the brain. So it comes from the brain, moves to the heart, and affects the entire body. Similarly, the other holy emotions in the heart, they too, such as fear of God and the like, originate from the Chabad, Chachma, Bina, and Das, the wisdom, understanding, and knowledge in the brain. So this is the end of today's shir, explaining, giving us the understanding where the abode of the animal soul is in ourselves. It's in the heart, in the left side of the heart, the part that is the oxygenated blood that gives us the desires of this world. And there the heart, the animalistic soul, uses also the brain to acquire everything that we desire and lust? Where is the abode? Where is the roots of the godly soul? It's in the brain. Everything begins with understanding, with thinking, and also has a place in the right side of the heart, meaning creating, using the chachma, bin, and das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge,